Hello and welcome to the Macomb Township Varsity Boys Basketball Preview Show for 2019-2020. I'm Jason Burnt, and joining me in studio is my broadcast partner, Brad Fetters. Brad, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here, Jason. Looking forward to another exciting season.
Absolutely. And in this show, we're going to go through a sneak peek for all four of our local schools in and around Macomb Township and get you ready for the upcoming season. We'll also go through all of the schedule so you can prepare for the big games that are coming up this year, and we should see some big games, Brad. Let's quickly talk about last year, and the Mac Red was a lot of knockdown dragouts, as we often see, and it was Roseville and Stevenson actually co-sharing the top of the Mac Red last year.
Arguably the toughest division to win in the state of Michigan. The Mac Red goes down right to the wire. And it was Stevenson and Roseville, the newcomer last season, that co-share that championship. Stevenson winning the last game of the regular season over Roseville to gain that co-share of the Mac Red.
You know, there were some big stories last year from our local teams, from injuries to players that decided not to play, and then some teams that really had down years, like a Lance Creuse North. We'll see later on. It's a clean slate, and it's fresh start for everybody, though, this year.
Yeah, it should be another wide-open race. You got the heavy contenders at the very top of the Mac Red and some teams that are going to be looking to play spoiler later on this season.
All right, well, let's get into our first team in our preview, and that's going to be the Dakota Cougars. They finished 15-7 overall last season and 7-3 in the Mac Red. With a healthy and talented group coming back, they hope to reclaim the Mac Red title.
We're excited. We're excited about the group that we have coming back. We have a group that, within our starting five, we have four that are very experienced. So the experience always helps when you're playing a tough division like the Mac Red and Macomb County. And the schedule that we have coming in the state is difficult. So we're excited about the experience we have coming back. We'll just see what happens with that experience and where they take it. Well, it starts with Ryan Rollins. Ryan Rollins, I believe, will be a Mr. Basketball candidate when it's all said and done. He's one of the top 5 to 10 basketball players in the state of Michigan. He's already committed to Toledo, which I think is an excellent commitment for him. He went through that process the whole summer and the spring and the fall, and he made a decision which I think takes a load off his mind. So he's going to be one of our top guys coming back. Along with him, Joey Toko, my son, who got some playing time last year. Xavier Glenn, he's been on the varsity now since his sophomore year, 6'6" center. Joshua Hines, who's been with us since he's a freshman. Obviously, those guys coming back provide us with the most experience and scoring and leadership that I think is going to put together a good nucleus for this team coming back.
Yeah, we're going to be good this year, I think. We got the same core group besides Mark, so this should be pretty good. Our chemistry, we've been working out and playing the whole summer, so we got good chemistry too, so we're going to be pretty good.
We're very hardworking. We're always give 100%, always working hard, always doing the extra things, staying after practice, getting extra shots up to put ourselves over the edge. We
have good guard play. We also have good bigs. With Xavier coming back as a 3-year guy. We have a sophomore named Tomias Williams, a 6'5" sophomore that's going to help us a lot in the front line. We have good guard play coming off the bench with Antonio Cordova and Sean Schlesinger. We have some juniors that still need to prove themselves as JV players coming up, but I like the group. They've been working hard so far in the preseason, and the experience is the big word this year, and hopefully they can do something with that experience. Ryan got hurt in the first Roseville game away, and we still competed. I think it went down the last 2 minutes. We ended up losing that game in the game where he was injured, and then we did play him again, and competing with Roseville and Chippewa Valley and Eisenhower and Lance Creuse North is always difficult. You're going to Stevenson. They all have good teams coming back. The last couple of years, it's been us and Roseville, so we obviously circle them on the schedule. But there's other teams, like I said, like Stevenson and Chippewa have come up and beat us. So obviously, we need to make sure that we're ready for those teams as well.
Just play together. Don't have the I mentality, and just use everyone on the court as one whole and just play together.
This year, the back of our T-shirts say we're down 1 and the clock's running, which means we're always going to take that motto that we're losing, that we're down in the game. We need to play with a sense of urgency, which I don't know if we did late in the year last year, even with the injuries that we had. So down 1, clock's running is our motto. We're always been, we not me, but that's kind of our motto this year. That down 1, clock's running. We want to take the approach that we're going to play with a sense of urgency every time we step on the floor.
All right, here's a look at Dakota's schedule. They start on December 14th on the road against Cass Tech. Then the home opener on the 17th against Grosse Pointe South. A game against Romeo to finish out 2019, then 2 at home against West Bloomfield and Stevenson. January 14th, they are on the road against Eisenhower, then 2 more at home against Roseville and L'Anse Creuse North. School district rival Chippewa Valley on January 23rd, followed by another road game against Stevenson. Ike at home on the 31st, and 2 road games to begin February against Roseville and L'Anse Creuse North. Chippewa Valley on the 11th, and then the MAC tournament begins on February 17th. All right, Brad, now when we look at Dakota, you know, the loss of Ryan Rollins last year really affected them. I know the coaching staff doesn't want to talk about that, and it's about the players that are there. But when you lose, you know, I guess your best player on your team, that's always going to prevent you from winning games.
Yeah, Ryan Rollins is going to end up going to Toledo. You say arguably their best player. He was their best player last season. You lose a player like that, and then the losses started to spiral. You lose to Roseville, Stevenson. You lose to your district rival in Chippewa Valley, and a little bit of an upset even in the district title game to a 15-10 Anchor Bay team that played out of the MAC Blue. So those are losses that Dakota's not accustomed to losing, and really you could blame it on the loss of Ryan Rollins, but he's back this year for senior season, so look out.
Yeah, and they're deep. You heard Coach Toko talk about that. Mark Toko is gone. His other son, Joey, is going to help run things at the point guard position. But that experience is what they're going to rely heavily on with Josh Hines and others to help out Ryan Rollins and to hopefully balance things.
Yeah, Mark Toko over at Albion College now, the all-time assist leader in Dakota history. He's not longer going to be running the point. He's running the point now for Albion College and made a big 3 in a recent scrimmage against Michigan State. I don't know if you saw that or not, but we expect big things out of him at the quarterback position for the football team and at the point guard position for Albion College. So a big loss with the graduation of him, but Ryan Rollins, Josh Hines, best backcourt in Macomb County. Throw Xavier Glenn in that post position, and look out, Dakota's going to be loaded this season.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to we'll talk more about it later on, but I think we're going to have to put them maybe close to the top of the MAC Red once again, if not winning the whole thing. So we'll come back with them, but next up in our preview is the L'Anse Creuse North Crusaders, a season I'm sure they'd like to forget about a year ago, finishing at 1-20 overall and 0-10 in the MAC Red. Coach Jay Seletsky is hoping they can get back to respectability once again.
One of the emphasis that we put back into to start this year is dealing with on the defensive end. We really didn't defend as well as we have in the previous umpteen mini seasons. I take the blame on that. We kind of tried to focus on offense, and it really didn't bode well for us to start the year. And so we've been really hitting it hard defensively, and a lot of drill work and a lot of focus on conditioning and being able to defend in different manners, especially with our short stature and size. We're going to have to be able to defend in multiple different varieties in order to get out and run with our guard play. We do have 6 players that got some time at some point, 3 of which saw a lot of time. Those guys are all back with Mackay, Jordan, and CJ, so they did see a lot of time last year. We still have a nice group of underclassmen that have come up and that we look for immediate impact from.
I think we can win a lot more games this year than our past couple years. We got a lot more talent coming up, a lot more returners. You know, everyone knows what their roles is on the team, so we should be smooth.
When you win 1 game from last year and a handful from the year before, and you talk about some of these seniors, they haven't experienced a ton of success. So, you know, we're trying to convey to them that we're hitting the reset button. We are doing some things differently this year. I think from a basketball standpoint, skill set wise and the combinations, you know, and the fluency and chemistry wise, I think we'll be okay.
Every year we learn something different. Like every year, like we did bad, we learned, we reflected on it, and we're trying to get better at it. So it's just like improving the things that we feel like we did bad to give us the most success possible.
Yeah, you're fresh. Yeah, it's a new start to the year, but no one's forgotten about last year. And when you talk about those 19-20 losses, 14 or 15 of those games, you know, we were within 4 points one way or another, up or down, in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes or less to play. That's a huge stat, and that tells a lot. And we're not ducking that. We're going to present that. We're going to be honest with these guys, and we're going to focus on the things that we need to do to be more mature and and hopefully with maturity becomes discipline, and then eventually you'll get that mental toughness where you expect to win those tight games. Bottom basic numbers tell us we got nowhere to go but up, so that's a good start. But realistically, we want to take this season into 3 phases. Kind of the preseason. We have our Christmas tournament here with a very good Grosse Pointe North, Warren Woods Tower, and Detroit 10B team coming in. And then when we come back, immediately we start the MAC Red. So we want to look at short-term phases. When you look at league play, there's a lot of teams in the Red that are highly competitive, and a couple on top with Dakota and Roseville that have a lot of nice returning players. When you talk about league play for us this year, the main goal is to protect our home court, and we have to win those, and then try to go steal some on the road to be competitive and to see if we can challenge to be in the upper echelon of the league. It's going to be extremely tough, but we're very excited, and I can tell you after last year, it feels good to be back in the gym.
All right, here's the schedule for L'Anse Creuse North. 3 straight home games to open the season, starting on December 11th against Port Huron Northern, school district rival L'Anse Creuse, and Anchor Bay. January opens up with a road game versus Fraser on the 7th, followed by 2 more road games in the league against Roseville and Chippewa Valley. Ike at home on the 17th, followed by a road game against Dakota on the 21st. After a home game against Stevenson, they have 2 more in their home gym versus Roseville and Chippewa Valley. 3 more league games to begin the month of February against Ike, Dakota, and Stevenson. And if they qualify, the MAC tournament begins on February 17th. All right, Brad, LCN, the last couple of seasons, it's been brutal for them. 1 win last year. Tough for Coach Seletsky to kind of get these kids motivated game in and game out when you're losing. But fresh start, like we mentioned before, and we'll see where they go this year.
Yeah, and that lone win was very late in the season against L'Anse Creuse by 13 points. So it was a team that really took their lumps last season, and you hope now they can maybe rebound slightly this year and obviously win a few more games.
They got some talent coming back and some experience. One of the things talking to Coach Seletsky about was maybe a maturity level and getting these guys to really buy into what they're trying to do this year. But you got Mekhi Johnson, who's been a multi-year varsity player running things, and it's always good to have a point guard coming back.
Yeah, 3/5 of their starting lineup from a season ago is back. You mentioned Mekhi Johnson. Christian Johnson's back as well. So you often talk about teams lose big, lose little, win big. This is year 3 of kind of that rebounding and rebuilding season for LCN, so you hopefully win little this year and look to maybe win big next year. Coach mentioned late in the fourth quarter, a lot of their games were not settled, right? 2-possession ball games late in the fourth quarter that unfortunately didn't go their way, but hopefully they can turn those losses into a few more victories this year.
Yeah, even with the team that they had last year, and you mentioned those close games, they got to find a way to get over the hump. It's going to be tough against teams like Roseville and Dakota and Chippewa Valley and some of these other teams. But, as Coach mentioned, you only got one way to go but up when you win one game. So hopefully LCN can win a lot more games this season and improve on last year. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have 2 more schools to look at in the red, Chippewa Valley and Eisenhower. So don't go away.
There's just one place where students are students first, and athletics are played with purpose and perspective. That place is your local high school. High school sports offer more than the joy of competition. Studies show that student athletes are also likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in other areas of their lives, including academics. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education.
Macomb County, 27 cities, townships, and villages. From East Point to Memphis, Romeo to New Baltimore. 458 square miles of where you want to be. It's a place where your children can grow, and so can your business. Macomb County's tree-lined borders contain over 12,000 acres of parkland. Its outer edge, 31 miles of freshwater shoreline, both filled each year with countless concerts, festivals, and family reunions. It's the birthplace of advanced technologies that not only instruct future generations, but protect them. Hey, and those are just facts. You can get that from the internet or a book. No. To truly understand what Macomb County is all about, you need to experience it. You need to live here. You need to work here. When you do that, you'll know you're home.
All right, welcome back to the 2019-2020 Boys Basketball Preview Show. I'm Jason Burnt, along with Brad Fetters. And Brad, we've covered two teams in our preview thus far. A couple teams we don't get to see as much. We'll just touch on briefly, and that's Stevenson and Roseville, who should be pretty darn good this year.
Yeah, the two co-champs from a season ago. And we'll start out with Roseville, who eventually won the district and regional titles before falling in the state quarterfinals to UD Jesuit. Unfortunately for them, they don't return a lot in terms of starters. Their only returning starter, four-year player Martell Turner. He's an all-stater, so he's a really good player, and Roseville should be loaded once again this year.
Yeah, as for Stevenson, they had a couple of years where they were right on the fringe, and last year, because of maybe the injuries to Ryan Rollins, as we mentioned with Dakota, they were able to jump up and win a game or two late and get the co-share of that MAC Red title.
Entire starting roster, they're 5 starters last year, all seniors, so they're gone, so they're going to be retooling. But the back-to-back 8-2 seasons, those 16 wins over the last 2 years in the MAC Red, ties Dakota for the most wins in that time span. So Stevenson's a team that just seemingly gets it done, and I will no longer underestimate that Stevenson team. I got in a little trouble a couple years ago, and I think the Titans should be okay this year as well.
Yeah, we'll have to look and see if that up-down maybe theory plays into it. When you lose 5 seniors, that's going to be tough. But those two teams are definitely going to be in the mix. We don't get to cover them as much here in Macomb Township, but we'll see some games maybe throughout the year playing teams like Dakota and L'Anse Creuse North. So we'll jump into our next team in our preview, and that's going to be the Chippewa Valley Big Reds. Head coach Kevin Voss is back for maybe his final season on the bench. Finishing 14-10 last year and a .500 record in the Red at 5-5, the Big Reds are looking to their youth to hopefully take that leap up to the top of the league.
I think we're, have become kind of young and inexperienced at this point due to some factors that were, outside our control. And but yet they're energetic, and we're just gonna have to find ourselves. I think we're gonna get better as the year goes on. But right now we have 3 sophomores on the team who will all play and get time, and that's kind of rare for us to have that many on the team. But they're good players. Big loss for us. We found out Myron Harris had knee surgery, and we were kind of hoping it was going to be a minor tear, and it was a major tear, and so he's probably lost for the season. And really, to be honest with you, Myron's, in my estimation, since I've been here for so long, I really felt he's one of the 2 or 3 best scorers we've ever had, and we thought he was going to put up huge numbers this year for us. But if you've been around, it is what it is. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us, and I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. We're not going to talk about him, and we're not going to say, if we had Myron or anything like that. What we have is what we have. We're going to work hard and see how good we can become. Johnny Bolden's a senior guard who can flat out shoot it. He's had a Achilles heel as he's been streakish in the past. He'll knock 6 down in a row, but then he'll come up with missing 6 in a row too. But I think this year he's worked on his game, and I think that'll be a lot. The bad streaks will be minimized, and the good streaks will be even prolonged. So looking for big things out of John. And, our senior class, Hayden Johnson didn't play a lot last year, but he's a good little guard. We have 3 post guys that are seniors. Josh Kulka, the quarterback, just a good hustler, hard worker. Ben Cardella is about 6'3.5", 6'4", he'll see a lot of minutes. He's very, very active, very rangy. Just a real fun kid to have and fun kid to coach, and I think he's very athletically talented. And Sawyer Slanik is be a post guy for us, also hard worker, good player. So they'll hold down the inside stuff for us pretty much. I don't think we're going to be a team that's out there playing 5 or 6 or 7. I think we're going to try to go deeper, which is probably a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Team morality-wise, probably better than usual. Everybody wants to play, and so I think a lot of guys are going to get a chance to see time and contribute as long as they're playing hard and working hard in practice. I can't see why they won't get in the games and help.
Last year we had more of like a set rotation. We had about 7 guys play. So I think this year if we expand it more, it'll be better in keeping our guys, legs ready. So I think it'll be beneficial to us.
I think we're gonna run the floor pretty good. Like all our guys are well conditioned, so maybe we can outrun other teams.
You mentioned you being around here a long time, and I've asked you before, is this it? Is this the last year?
This is more than likely it, and when I say more than likely, it's very high percentage. The thing I hate to do is to just say it, and then it's like the dead man walking tour. Everybody knows you're done, and this and that. Because really, to be honest with you, I think I've always tried to make it really all about the kids. And that's the part of it I don't like, is the fact that if I announce that I'm leaving, then everybody's like, oh, he's leaving, and so on and so forth, and maybe win one for the Gipper, and all of that. I've gotten all my blessings out of this game. I've been blessed to be here, to be reasonably successful here, and I can't complain at all. So I still want this team and my focus to be on what's best for the kids, not really what's best for me. My job is to teach, their job is to learn, and if I do a reasonably good job with what I do, and they do a good job of concentrating and learning, then we'll be highly competitive. there's going to be some teams out there that on paper appear right now to be better than we are, but I think over the course of our history, we've beaten a number of teams that appear to be better than we are, or scared them really, really good. So, that's our goal, is just get better every day and see how good we can get by the first game, and then try to, learn from our mistakes and get better and be better the second game. And I think by the time, by the time we get in the middle of January, February, I'm hoping this is a really fine basketball team, but there may be a few roadblocks and a few bumps in the road along the way as we learn how to play. But I don't think it'll be for lack of effort, and I don't think it'll be for them being the type of kids that you want to work with. So I'm very happy with them so far.
Here's Chippewa's schedule. They start on the road on December 10th against Creuse, followed by another road game against Grosse Pointe South. Home opener on the 16th against Stony Creek, followed by Grosse Pointe North. A road game against Rochester Adams to finish up 2019. Then league play begins on January 9th against Eisenhower. A game against Creuse North, and 2 on the road against Stevenson and Roseville on January 21st. Home against Dakota on the 23rd, followed by 2 road games against Ike and LCN. February begins with 2 home games against Stevenson and Roseville. And the final league game at home against Dakota on the 11th. One more tune-up versus Warren Cousino before the MAC tournament on February 17th. And they close out the regular season and prepare for districts against Utica on March 3rd. Well, Brad, when we talk about Chippewa Valley, and you heard it in the piece there, Coach Voss has been their longtime coach, and this could be it for him this year.
Yeah, legendary head coach at Chippewa Valley, and they were my pick a season ago to win the MAC Red, and they really got off to a slow start after coming off that long state-run championship run in the sport of football. I think that kind of carried over a little bit into the basketball season. They got off to that slow start, but finished really strong. Won 6 of their last 7 games, including a district title over Sterling Heights Stevenson. So they're looking to carry perhaps some of that momentum into this year.
Yeah, we talked about injuries for Dakota last season, and Ryan Rollins not playing might have cost them. And you kind of look at Chippewa Valley going into this year, and that's a huge loss, losing Myron Harris.
Yeah, Myron Harris was probably going to be their point guard. He plays AAU basketball for the North Oakland Wolfpack. So, if you're playing AAU basketball, you're a really good player. And the loss of Myron Harrison and the fact that his brother Miles didn't come out for the basketball team this year really puts a damper perhaps on their preseason hopes of contending in the MAC Red.
Yeah, you heard him say that they have some sophomores up on the varsity team, and that is rare for Coach Voss. He likes more of a veteran team. He likes to go with a lot of seniors and juniors on his ball club, but this year he's going to have to stretch it a little bit and look for some of that youth.
Yeah, experience in the MAC Red with that grind, that 10-game schedule. You're playing all those tough teams. It can be difficult, especially for underclassmen, so it's going to be getting their feet wet early and trial by fire for the Chippewa Valley Big Reds this year.
Yeah, and if it is Coach Voss's last year, he's been an outstanding coach in the MAC. And, he's well respected in the area. Absolutely. And he's been nothing but nice to us. So, of course, we wish him all the best if this is his last year, of course. But we'll go to our next team now into our preview, and that's going to be the Eisenhower Eagles. They finished at 500 last year at 11-11 overall, but 2-8 in the MAC Red. Something they are looking to improve upon this season.
I think we are coming along pretty good as a team. We had a nice summer. Kids were out, they worked hard. Have really 3 key seniors coming back that we're excited about: Munn, Candela, and Caladino. And, they put the work in, and we're trying to get the younger kids involved. And I think we got a little bit more depth than last year, and I think that can only help us out. Jake Munn on his defense, he's an outstanding defensive player and a hardest working kid we've ever had in the program, I think, or rivals that. And, Mateo Candela, he proved himself last year. He was a great scorer. He's a really good player, and we're really looking forward to him having a good season. Want to get a little bit more production out of Caladino and my big guy, Luke Adamchuk.
The athleticism and how deep we go with so many guys who can play all 5 positions. Everyone get in there and really, outside of a few guys, everyone can play the 1 through 5. So that's really nice to have that.
We have to compete, not just compete anymore, but now we've got to turn those into wins. We got to believe in ourselves. I think we can do it. Dakota's going to be good. They're all going to be good, right? Roseville's loaded, Dakota's loaded, and Chippewa, Stevenson's kind of retooling a little bit, and I'm sure Lance Creuse North, Jay will always have those guys ready to go. So we got to be ready to play every night.
Winning the MAC Red, pretty much. Making it as far as we can in the States and going really far.
I love playing those games. They're great games. I don't want to compete anymore. I want to win some of those games. And if we're going to make that move, we've got to prove ourselves there. Today we're trying to win the day, right? Win the day. We're going to win every play, every drill. We want to compete and get after it. Continue to focus on playing for each other and making it a great group and having a lot of fun, but win at what we do. And whether that's a drill, whether that's lifting in the mornings, whether that's just a shooting drill, form shooting, we're gonna win the day.
Here's Eisenhower's schedule. They start on December 10th at home against Romeo, followed by 2 road games against Clarkston and Utica Ford. Home against Utica on the 19th. Then the new year starts with a road game against Troy Athens. Lakeshore on January 7th, then league play begins games against Chippewa. Hold on a second. Lakeshore on January 7th, then league play starts with games against Chippewa, Dakota, and Lance Creuse North on January 17th. On the road against Stevenson on the 21st, then 2 home games versus Roseville and Chippewa Valley. On the road against Dakota on January 31st, then February brings 2 home games against LCN and Stevenson. Final MAC Red game on February 11th against Roseville. The MAC tournament on the 17th, then they close out the regular season on the road against Luther North on March 3rd. All right, well, Eisenhower, Brad, last couple seasons, they've been down towards the bottom end of the MAC Red. They've got some talent coming back. Where do we look at Eisenhower as fitting into this MAC Red this year?
Yeah, 500 record last season at 11-11, 2-8 in the MAC Red, and their only 2 wins in league play was over the winless LCN squad. And you lose one of your better players, Anthony Kukai, to Roseville, a transfer out of Eisenhower. So it's going to be a little tough sledding in the early part of the season, and you just kind of hope for the Eagles. They round into form later on in the year.
Yeah, they're not a very big team. Looking at them at practice, didn't have a lot of bigs that, they're going to have to go a different route. And one of the things through some of their drills that we watched at practice was stopping on a dime and shooting those threes. So they're going to have to rely heavily on outside shooting.
And that's really how the game of basketball has kind of gone as of late, right? Teams just jacking up a bunch of threes, and you kind of have to space out the defenders to guard the perimeter. Mateo Candela, one of the better players, one of the better shooters on the Eisenhower squad this year, is a player to really pay attention to them. I think the offense will probably go through him throughout most of the season.
Yeah, well, we wish them all the best of luck. Obviously, them and L'Anse Creuse North, the two bottom teams, looking to make that jump up and try to get back into the middle of the pack, if not the top. So it's the time of the year we normally talk predictions, right? You know, you and I both talk about it, and we maybe make a different pick, but I think we're in lockstep on where we look at the MAC Red this year. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Dakota Cougars, obviously.
Yeah.
They return the most, and that experience, especially in that backcourt with Rollins and Hines, I think will kind of lead them. Obviously, Coach didn't want to talk about it, but the Rollins injury was huge last year.
Yeah, and Rollins being one key, top 5 player in the state, like Coach Toko mentioned in their piece. But they've got some pretty darn good players outside of him, Josh Hines, and they've got some good post players. I think they're going to find themselves in a lot of those games where they're up 20 points, up 30 points, and just cruising along. But they're going to be tough to beat. Roseville might give them a scare,
absolutely.
And maybe somebody else jumps up this year that we don't expect to give them a scare. But we both, I think, we're in lockstep there with Dakota.
Yeah, Dakota had the highest scoring offense from a season ago. They also gave up the most points in the MAC Red, so that's something to pay attention to. It might be is just more a little bit of a style of their play, right? Up tempo, like to score a bunch of points in transition, but Roseville, I think, is a team to really pay attention to as well. They won all of their home games last season, so they're a force at home. They have a brand new floor now at Roseville, and they're making their case to stay in that MAC Red, obviously making that move up from the MAC White. They've won back-to-back MAC Red White tournaments, so Roseville really a force now to contend with in the MAC Red, and that's also a difficult travel for a lot of teams within the Red. That's a long bus trip down to Roseville, and it's going to be a tough place to play now with Roseville seemingly a force in the MAC Red.
Yeah, and those are going to be good games. And they said, we told you, circle games on your calendars. Those Dakota-Roseville games should be outstanding ball games. But Brad, again, thank you so much for coming in and joining me here. But that's it for our show this year. We'd like to thank you for joining us for the Basketball Preview Show. If you've missed any part of it, you can watch all of our content online by going to www.macomb-mi.gov. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will give you alerts when programs become available. A special thanks goes out to the schools who allowed us to visit their practices again this year. We wish them the best of luck in the upcoming season. For the rest of the crew here at Macomb Township Government Access, I'm Jason Byrne. Thank you so much for watching.